and some big ambitions, big goals, big numbers around GM and Ford. What's your take on this? Is this a permanent shift, or is this going to be a fast-growing but still smaller part of these companies' business, at least for now?
Well, at least for now, a small compared to the overall market making the money on the big trucks, the pickups, but clearly sending a message to the market that growth is going to be fast and that they are all in when it comes to electrification of the automobile, because that's where they're being rewarded by the investor community, right? You look at Wall Street and the way that they've rewarded Tesla, and you see, the way that the Wall Street has looked at these traditional automakers for the last few years. It's not until the likes of Mary Barra and Ford have started talking really aggressively about their plans that they start to see that reward in the last few months, in particular Ford. So the story is all electrification. That's the future.
Yeah, and there's a lot of big numbers around reservations, okay, for these electric vehicles. But I want to be clear, because the deposits on many of these cars, I think for a Rivian is $1,000. For some of these electric GMC cars, it's $100, and I believe it's fully refundable. So if you're curious, you can throw $100 down. You're basically in it for nothing, and you can always get that money back. I think, won't the tell be, Tim, to see how many of these early orders actually convert? Because it's real easy to put the deposit down on something that's cool and new. We got to see how many of these buyers actually convert, do we not?
Oh, absolutely. And how many of these vehicles these companies can actually produce in the year? Can they show that they can get the microchips that they need to build the vehicles, the batteries that they need to ramp up? That's going to be critical. As Ford reports its results, I think a lot of investors are going to want to continue to look for signs that they are on track for that electric F-150 that's coming this spring. That is probably one of the most important product rollouts that the company has done in recent memory, as they show that they can do this, right? One of the challenges that traditional automakers have is proving that they can electrify the vehicle, make a vehicle that consumers want to buy, right? Tesla has demonstrated that customers will buy an electric vehicle if it's cool and it's sexy and it can perform. When you look at traditional automakers, in particular GM, they've struggled with that.
But let's be clear. People, and you and I have talked about electric cars. They are fast. They are fun. They have very few moving parts. They are cheap to maintain, minus the tires. But here's the thing. To me, where this market is really going to take off, or it's not, it's going to win or die on the parking lot. What I mean by that is somebody gets an electric Lightning or a Silverado, his buddies or her buddies say, what do you think of the truck? And they're either going to sing its praises and say it's the greatest thing ever, and others are going to buy it, or they're going to say, well, the range isn't as good as I thought, or the battery really goes dead quickly when it's freezing cold. The real sales job on these EVs, Tim, in my opinion, and disagree please if you want, is going to be when the first customers get them and start telling their friends about how they run. Because this is a new technology for most people. Completely different way to drive and operate a car.
Absolutely correct. Then that's been proven out with Tesla over the years. That word of mouth, that viral marketing has been crucial to sales, to building that customer loyalty, because this is something new, as you point out, right? If you can get somebody behind the wheel of these vehicles and demonstrate that it's cool to drive and that it performs, it helps that sale. And the thing that GM and Ford have to show is that once you get in this vehicle, it's worth having. It's better than, or at least equal to having a gas-powered vehicle.
And quickly, how much of this is going to come down to battery range? They say 300. You and I have driven electric cars. At 230, you start to get nervous. Then if it's cold, it's 200. Pretty soon you're charging more than you expected. How much is battery life going to ultimately matter? It's going to be maybe the only thing that matters in a lot of these situations.
It's going to be huge in the next few years, even though the average person maybe does 40 miles on their daily commute. Typically, they don't need all that range, but it's psychological. They want to know when they get in there that they could go someplace if they want to.